Well, a lot of it is you trying to break your back, freaking deadlifting 9,000 pounds and still
Yeah.
do back squat. And
I'm 42. I'm hanging on for dear life, but I can still do some things.
you're a guy that I'd go to war with.
Right? It's the underwear Olympics. I'm like, yeah, go back to your 80s, buddy. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Shut up.
yeah. All the best players I've ever been around still wanted to be coached hard.
A fart stuck in an astronaut's outfit.
It's Coach Spurrier with a bandana on, no shirt on, and
Oh,
just
God.
just grinding out curls. Oh no, it's a party.
Yeah, the boys are back here. No more solo missions for Tailgate Talks with DeMarco and Garcia. We're together and back in action. We this week we have a really cool guest. But first off, how about the freaking Gamecocks at the NFL Combine? I mean, it was almost a takeover.
Unbelievable. Like we talked about earlier, man. Some of these guys made some pretty good money after this weekend. That was pretty damn impressive.
I mean, Josh Simon put up really good numbers, second fastest tight end, did really good in his drill work. Demetrius Knight hit the fastest top speed in his 40 of all the linebackers out there. Nicky Manura did okay.
Yeah.
And
I
guys,
saw I, s-
incredible.
I saw Rocket was the fastest. Was he the fastest overall player or the fastest running back?
Yeah.
Like top
I mean,
speed.
well, did you watch? I mean, I watched some of it, and like they were doing the gauntlet drill, and it was saying guys were hitting 30 miles an hour running through the gauntlet, catching the balls, and it's like, yeah, your data sucks because ain't nobody hit freaking 30 miles an hour. Um,
No.
but it was, I mean, OD did really well. TJ was there. Tonka couldn't keep his freaking shoes on. His shoe fell off like 4 different times, but he still dominated. So the Gamecocks had a good showing. It just really goes to show. I mean, we over under was 4 wins last year, and we had was it 11 guys, 9 or 11 guys went to the combine for Carolina. One of the top showings in college football. Um, just goes to show kind of the talent that we had this past year.
Yeah, no question about it. And the numbers that they put up, I think they had some pretty good athletic trainers.
Yeah, pretty good athletic trainers, pretty good strength coaches. I mean, Luke Day is doing a great job there currently. But leading into this episode, this guy was the man.
Yeah.
I spent 2 years. You spent 2 years and 4 weeks with him. But Joe Connolly was a big pivotal piece to the puzzle at South Carolina when we were here. Obviously, we had Black Iron Mark Smith our first 2 years as our strength coach. Then Craig Fitzgerald came in and took over. Was the head guy the last 2 years, and he brought in Joe Connolly, who Joe was probably 26, 27.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, young, energetic, was a recent college athlete. He played baseball, which we'll get into his story. But it was really cool to have a young set of eyes, a guy that played a sport recently, went through the training recently, was also incredibly sharp, was a player-driven guy, super motivating, practiced what he preached, which we'll talk about on that show too, because that dude still moves weight in his
I mean, no
40s.
doubt. But I mean, that was really cool. Like just hearing the analytics and how he has just dived deep or just nose dive deep into how he's trying to get these guys to maximize their performance. I mean,
Yeah,
when we were playing for him, I didn't think anything of it. It's just like, hey, move that weight. But
yeah.
now there's how he was talking about there's a rhyme for reason, and it was pretty cool.
Everything's tracked. Yeah, I'm kind of glad
His his
everything wasn't tracked back then because you and I wouldn't have
yeah.
stood a chance.
Oh, the body fat was tracked, and that was always fun.
Yeah, no doubt. That was always an epic. What we did twice a year. It was always like
Oh
the
God,
the
painful.
most crushing. Like, man, I worked really hard this off season. I feel great. They pinch your gut, and you're
And
like,
it pinch the gut. It's like,
oh,
oh my lordy.
too much
Yeah,
beer.
beer will do that to you.
Yeah,
But
no
yeah, man,
doubt.
Coach Joe, that was so cool hanging out with him and getting a chance to talk with him. I mean, his team had a pretty good season this past year.
Yeah, ASU, and he was ranked college football strength coach of the year. So kudos to him and everything he did, helping turn around that program. Um, like everybody forgets, you spend more time with the strength coach than you do with your actual position coaches. In the
Yep.
grand scheme of things, you spend all winter, all summer grinding in the weight room, and
I
then
mean, And during season, they're also checking your rooms, making sure
Yep.
no funny business is going.
Yeah. Especially in the off season, late nights. But no, Coach Joe's a stud. Good friend of ours, guy who's always followed up. I mean, I feel like everybody we talk about or everybody that we've interviewed during our time has remained in contact with us, which is the coolest thing because relationships come and go, right? But the real ones, the real bonds, they last a long time. And Joe still texts me, still sends me messages on social media pretty consistently. I keep up with him. So those lasting relationships really go a long way.
Yep. We like we said, like we talked about it, we got to go out there and play some golf with him, man.
Yeah. Well, he said next time, if we want to do a follow up, let's go out to Scottsdale, play some golf, drink some beers, and do an actual live show. So Dakota, in maybe a year, 6 months, 8 months, whenever the hell we need to, let's take a show on the road and head out to Scottsdale and tee that thing up.
Sounds like a no-brainer, no-brainer. But yeah, we're gonna cut this thing into two pieces. So enjoy the first part, right?
Yeah. First half, I mean, we could have went for 5 more hours with Joe.
At least, at
But
least.
we tried to be as efficient with our time as we could, but the content was just so good. So hopefully you guys really enjoy this episode. Remember, this is the first half, so you get the second half of Coach Joe coming down the road. But appreciate you guys listening. Don't forget, like, comment, retweet, repost, do whatever you do, and don't forget, subscribe on YouTube. We're on that bad boy now.
Hey, yes, sir.
All right, appreciate y'all.
Home Team Barbecue is fired up to take care of your tailgate and watch party needs this season. Home Team is known for its smoked meats, creative daily specials, and twists on Southern classic. Smoked wings, ribs, pulled pork sliders, barbecue nachos, or classic sides like mac and cheese and collard greens are the perfect feast to fuel your game day. Round up your friends and give Home Team Catering a shout at catering@hometeambarbecue.com or head to 5 Points for a frozen game changer cocktail and barbecue snacks to celebrate the next Gamecocks big win. Visit hometeambarbecue.com to check out the menu. Looking for the perfect spot to unwind? Steel Hand Brewing in Casey has you covered. Whether you're craving a refreshing craft beer or just a great time with friends and family, Steel Hands has it all. With a variety of craft beers, spacious outdoor beer gardens, and a delicious food menu, there's something for everyone. Plus, join them for free live music every Thursday through Sunday. Visit steelhandsbrewing.com to see their lineup of upcoming events or host your own. Handforce and Casey and voted best local brewery again this year. Go visit steelhandsbrewing.com.
All right, you carnivores, we got a new sponsor, JCQ Farms, located off 177 Saluda Bluff Road in Batesburg, South Carolina. Huge Gamecock family, folks. So they have grass-fed beef, pasture-raised pork, and they have absolutely no antibiotics, no hormones, and all of the animals are treated humanely. They also practice regenerative farming. Right now, their top sellers are tomahawk ribeyes, cowboy ribeyes, fillets, bacon, and this primal ground beef mixture. It's heart, liver, and beef mix. If you're going to get any sort of meat, get it from here, folks.
We're sitting here with a guy who needs no introduction, Joe Connolly, who was longtime strength coach here at South Carolina, now currently at Arizona State. Appreciate you, Joe, for taking the time to hang out with Steve and I.
Man, I am so fired up to be on the horn with you guys, and let's get it going.
I mean, you've been busy, man. You've been on a few podcasts over the last couple of months, huh?
Yeah, you have a good season, and everybody wants to talk to you. So I usually, I'm probably going to shut her down here in the next maybe week or two. I've just been doing one a week on Wednesday, and
Yeah,
a lot of people in the strength world, and I've always tried to, help out and educate, and if people are interested in how we do things or what we're doing to try to, help young coaches out, or if there's a lesson in there that people can learn about, our journey here or whatever. So it's something obviously that's, more people are doing, and
Yeah.
it's a great avenue to reach a bunch of people. So
yeah.
How about your boy Isaiah, man? Winning the Super Bowl.
I know.
Badass.
His what did he tweeted? He betted on himself or something like that. Like and we had another kid from UMass, Jack Driscoll, was also on the roster,
Nice.
offensive tackle. So both those guys got themselves a Super Bowl, which is really cool.
That's the goal. Was half a quarter, maybe one drive shorter one myself to Joe's team, the freaking Patriots.
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up a Patriots fan. Obviously, it's impossible not to be a Patriots fan when you grow up in New England.
Yep.
But I was talking to somebody yesterday. I'm not. I've been away for so long that now I'm just a fan of teams that I have former players on.
People,
like when Stephon was on the Pats, that was great. I had Jack Jones on the Patriots. N'Keal Harry on the Patriots.
Yeah.
But shit, it's every team. At this point now.
You're basically a fantasy football manager now. You like the teams that you guys are on.
Yeah, and I have so little time to actually keep up with what's going on that half the time I'll if it's a Sunday and I got the TV on in the background, I'll look and I'll be like, oh, he's on that team. I had no idea. It's kind of crazy.
Well, I mean, so kudos to you, man. You did an incredible job during kind of my playing journey of always staying in the loop and staying in touch. It's like it doesn't happen much. I mean, I think it's a special person that really dives in and takes the time and the effort to carve out that time to follow up with your players and tell them how much you appreciate them and how proud you are. I was very thankful for all the text messages and the messages I got from you during that time, brother.
No, man, it's even now I tell these guys we just had an elite day. I guess it was a week and a half ago. And I literally told those guys kind of a similar story. I'm like, listen, I still talk to or try to talk to all the guys that I've kind of had an opportunity to coach, and social media allows you to keep in touch a lot easier than, traditional methods, but I still use those too. It's funny. I try to keep my phone number the same. It's the same as it was when I was at Carolina. And it's, I just think it's important. I feel like that's a relationship for life at the end 100%. Of the day.
A lot of shared struggles. You saw a lot of shit, that's for sure.
Yes, we're going to get into some of the shit that you had to see.
I've seen a lot, but I've also just been fortunate, with to be able to coach great dudes and help them along their journey, whether that's the NFL or whether that's life after football or the corporate world or the private sector, world of training, whatever it is. I just try to be a resource.
Yeah.
Well, you're very active on social media, and it's kind of refreshing. I don't know many coaches that are as active as you are.
Well, a lot of it is you trying to break your back, freaking deadlifting 9,000 pounds and still your back squat. And I love seeing that stuff because
it's unbelievable.
Practice what you teach, practice what you preach. You live it. You're all about it, man. You're a guy that I'd go to war with.
No, I appreciate it. And it's funny, man. To me, it's like a position coach watching film. If you're a position coach and you don't know how to break down film or watch film or edit film, it's the same thing for a strength coach. You have to at least attempt to train. I'm 42. I'm hanging on for dear life, but I can still do some things.
Still throwing around some weight.
I can't do them as often, but I can still do. Like yesterday, we were in a training session, and we were in week 4 of this particular training phase, and we had some one-arm dumbbell rows. And I always train in the morning, and there was a freshman kid, and he's like, those 150s are, they're dusty. I'm like, well, let me dust them off for you. I took one out and I, did some rows and just repped it out for 15 reps. And he just what in the Christ was that? I'm like, go back to your 80s, buddy.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's incredible.
That's unbelievable. That is unbelievable. Are you guys working out in the mornings? Is that kind of like standard deal? Or are you guys kind of in the afternoons, or when do you guys have your workouts?
We have a phenomenal schedule here. Basically the day's split in half. So we don't go too early. 7 a.m. is usually about as early as we are, unless we're in camp or, spring ball is a little earlier. So 7 a.m. is usually the first group. We usually only do 2 groups in the morning, 2-hour groups. And then I have my pro group in the afternoon. But the team essentially at 12:30, 1 o'clock kind of turns their hat around and they put on their academic hat. So the morning is football and the afternoon is academics. And you remember at Carolina, we had, 3 or 4 groups and guys would be running
all
to
over the
class
place.
and then coming back to meetings and then running back to
Yeah.
class. And that's just not conducive to like having a really good mindset and attention span and whatever else it is. I think the kind of splitting that day in half really works well for us. Yeah, it's hot as shit.
Yeah, you're up there. Then what is it right now? Probably 85, 90 already.
No, so actually it was it's actually cloudy today, which is kind of super rare. Everybody here loves cloudy days.
There's no doubt. I play golf out there. It is like, in February, and I'm like, God bless, it's hot already.
Yeah, last week it was in the low 80s, but just beautiful because in the morning it'll be like 58, 59, 60 degrees, and then 80 in the afternoon. But it's gorgeous right now. But it'll start creeping up here in the next month or so, and it'll be a little hot.
Now, how far are you? I got to ask. The Waste Management was there this past weekend. How far are you from there? Did you venture over?
This was the first year I haven't gone.
Okay.
I've been every year. We usually have a coaches event, like a donor event there, where we're talking with donors and boosters and fundraising and that sort of thing. And we went last year. I remember I was in there with Danica Patrick and all these other. There's all these like Waste Management as well. There's all these other like back room.
It's a big party too.
No, it's a party. I remember last year I was in this one area. There was a bar and a bunch of tables and stuff like that, and then there's a bookshelf. Like everything's like prefab, right? So there was a bookshelf, and the bookshelf slides open. And I looked at the guy I was with, and I'm like, "What the hell is back there?" And he goes, "Oh, you want an IV?" I'm like, "Yeah, I want an IV." So we go in the back, and there's a huge setup of chairs. They got IVs going. And I got a Myers cocktail and like 2 bags, and I was drinking a Miller Lite while I was doing it. It was really wild. But,
that's incredible.
Yeah, they got all sorts of stuff there.
I could use one of those right now.
Yeah,
maybe wait a day.
Well, let's dive in and kind of talk about your ramp up to kind of getting to Carolina. You went to Bridgewater State and you played baseball, but you trained football players. You don't look like a baseball player. You look like a football player. Talk about how the heck, talk about your experience playing. Did you know all along? Like, obviously, you probably wanted to go to the majors, like being a baseball player, but when did you realize that strength and conditioning was going to be your ticket?
Yeah, so I always wanted to play Division I athletics. Right. And growing up, you play football, you play basketball. In the Northeast, you play hockey. So I played football, hockey, and baseball. Right. And all the way through high school. And then I kind of was like, listen, what sport can I play that I'm going to be able to play Division I athletics? And that happened to be baseball. I went to University of Hartford for baseball for 4 years. And, it was a great experience. Got a chance to, travel all over the East Coast and play ball and play in, summer leagues and all that stuff. And after I was done, I messed around in some, semi-pro leagues and wooden bat leagues and all that stuff. And I'm like, I was always really good at training, right? I kind of got introduced to training in college, and I had a great strength coach named Emil Johnson who trained us essentially like a football team. Mm-hmm. We ran, we sprinted, we conditioned, we lifted. It was a great experience. And, somewhere along the line, I kind of realized that I was a lot better at that than maybe the sport. And so after college, I really wasn't sure what to do. I still hadn't had that epiphany of like, okay, I can actually do this for a living. My undergrad degree was in criminal justice and sociology. And
could help even that a little bit.
Yeah. I was trying to figure it out. I was on the fire department. I was an EMT firefighter. I sold life insurance for New York Life. I managed a landscape company. I did all sorts of stuff. And one day I woke up and I'm like, I hate all of this. Like, I don't want to do any of it. And I went back to Bridgewater State University and got my master's in strength and conditioning, and kind of climbed the ladder. I started interning at Harvard with Fitz, and he hired me on as a limited earnings assistant after 6 months of interning, and then, proceeded to get offered a job at University of Louisville. I went there for a year, and then that's when Fitz got the job at Carolina in 2009. And, he called me right away, and I got in a car and headed down to Columbia. And, that was
I still remember his speech. And the word,
The very first speech.
like whenever I hear the word meander, I'm like,
Yep.
what? Like the only person I've ever heard say meander other than whoever you are is when Craig Fitzgerald came here and he met with us. And he's like, no, I didn't meander down here from Harvard up there in Boston, my hometown, yada, yada. I didn't meander down here to F around. Like, you guys better give me everything you got.
Yeah.
And I mean, you guys got it out of us. Like it was, not that Mark Smith, Black Iron, was the strength coach before Fitz, but you guys just had a way of reaching us and kind of getting us to buy in. It was
a much different weight training though. It wasn't Black
it was
Iron
more
was having
specific. Like
he was having us do the same lifts as Travian and Broadhead and these other guys. It's like didn't make any sense.
Broad.
I was Broadhead and Steve were both at my house this past weekend.
Oh, goodness gracious.
How is Broadhead doing? He's super skinny. Doesn't he work in the medical field? He's like managing the hospital, right?
Yeah, he runs a hospital.
No, he just moved down to Tampa actually, and is working at United Vein Center of America, who actually had trained the CEO's kid. But yeah, so he's like doing something with the medical field, but he's not doing the hospital stuff anymore.
Okay.
And then Seaver is a corporate attorney or some shit.
Okay, I could see that.
But he looks like he's 70 years old.
Oh man.
Yeah, Joe, you'll see my Instagram message. You'll laugh your ass off.
Oh my God. No, it's always so much fun to see like what you guys turn into, what you choose to do with your lives. Like it's the coolest thing in the world. Like I just, and I honestly, like one of the things that I always hold close is that like I hope that you attack whatever it is you choose in the same way, from a mindset perspective that you attack training, like whether you're selling insurance or whatever, like just kick ass. Like that's the coolest thing.
Yeah. I had it was Dan Quinn in Atlanta, but he had a saying that like still sticks with me now is when you're lost, when you don't know what the hell you're doing, like it's time to check whoop ass and just like go into like badass mode and go get after it.
Yeah.
I still take that. I mean, in the real estate world and little league sport world, which probably I need to taper down a little bit.
And the podcast email world.
Yeah.
This guy hammers the emails.
All caps, exclamation points. Is this guy yelling at me through the screen? Like, what is going on here?
Yep, all the tactics. Hey, it's getting Steven moving. He's up and at him today when he wasn't feeling well yesterday.
Now a word from our sponsor, Tony Pope at State Farm. Switching is easy. We do it all the time. We switch on the lights, we switch the TV channels, and some of us switch partners while square dancing. Well, that's a stretch. But what's not a stretch is how you can switch and save with State Farm. In fact, State Farm agent Tony Pope, right here in South Carolina, can switch you over so you can start saving today. Tony and his team are ready to welcome you to the State Farm neighborhood. With Tony Pope, it's easy to switch and save. Just give him a call at 843-851-2222 or visit tonypope.com. When you want the real deal, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. We are proud to be sponsored by our buddies David Marshall and Shane Burrows and their law firm Lanier & Burrows. These guys are Gamecocks from undergrad through law school, and they bleed garnet and black. They practice all across South Carolina, helping people and families who have been injured or killed in car accidents, trucking accidents, work accidents, medical malpractice, nursing home negligence, basically any type of incident. Unfortunately, though, for Stephen, they don't really handle all that criminal stuff. If you or someone you know was injured, let Shane and David investigate it at no cost to you. They will get you answers and will let you know if they can help. They only get paid if they get you a recovery. Give Lanier & Burrows Law Firm a call at 803-268-9800. Gamecock fans, if you want to look your best, go swing by Granger Owings on Main Street or in the Trenton Plaza. Granger Owing strives to deliver the best-in-class customer service paired with the finest fashion. Their stylists truly cater to each customer, starting with a personalized consultation every time, and help each individual build a wardrobe based on their lifestyle needs, occasions, and preferences. At Granger Owings, you will find the latest from classic, up-and-coming, designer brands of clothing and shoes for men and women, from business attire to custom clothing to sportswear, weekend wear, and formal wear. They dress their customers for every occasion.
But I'll tell you this though. I mean, shit, Pat, you remember we would be done at 7 a.m. with our workouts with those
Yeah, I
guys. I mean,
mean,
and now these guys are starting, man. Coach, are you guys getting soft on them or what?
Listen, there are NCAA rules. Do you know you can't start a workout before 6 a.m. and you cannot do a workout after, I believe, 9 p.m.
wow.
That's
So there's
insane. I
actually
did not know that.
parameters now that don't allow you to do that. Were you guys there when we did, like, I think it was after your time, like a little bit after your time, but we actually did like a workout at like 11 o'clock at night, one Friday night in the old bubble. And it was like, mat drills / team comp. And I remember DJ Swearinger like had to pull his car in because the lights weren't working, and we had all these cars lined up for lights, and we're getting after it at like 11 o'clock at
I
night. You
I
can't
do
do that
remember.
anymore.
I do remember that actually. I do remember that. Yeah, that was been my senior year. But man, those are some intense workouts, man. And
Oh, great.
I know I was gonna wait till later to get into it, but might as well roll into it now. Tell the listeners what the phone call / voicemail is like these days from Joe Connolly. Is it calmed down a little bit? Because I know I got a couple buddies that are position coaches, and they say you can't say punishment anymore. It's all like encouragement now. So I remember
Yeah,
getting those voicemails from you and shitting in my pants a little bit.
I still leave them. I don't really care. It's hilarious. So, one of my, I think I told you this the other day, Steven. One of my
Yeah,
former players was here. He's a member of the media,
that's
and
Pat's best friend.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, what I'm talking
Yep.
about.
So regardless,
Yep.
He was here, and he messaged me. He's like, "Hey, can I come in and work out at 6 a.m.?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course you can. I'll be there, like wrapping up my workout, so you can absolutely come in." And it was like 6:01, and he wasn't there. And I got on the phone and I left him one of those voicemails.
Mhm.
And he called me at like 7:30, and he's like, "You don't understand where you just took me to. Like, you took me back to
Yep.
like, whatever it was, 8 years ago or 7 years, 6 years ago." He's like, I almost didn't even get out. Like, I was so afraid. And he's like, "I'm a grown man." I'm like, "Well,
Yep.
like, what are you gonna do?"
Yeah, you say you're gonna be somewhere, you better do it.
Yeah, you're gonna say it, do it. The
Hey,
the one thing
consistent.
I don't do anymore is actually physically go and rip anybody out of bed. That
Yeah, you did that.
that's a little frowned upon these
Yep.
days. But
Well, I mean, it is. I mean, talk a little bit now about like we'll talk about it later too, but like the difference in the student athlete in college, like there are a bunch of rules that the NCAA put in place, but like it's a different kid with the portal and NIL. Like it's not, if Joe Connolly is mean to me and Joe Connolly doesn't rub my shoulders and tell me how great I am, well, really, if I don't believe that Joe Connolly loves me enough to do that stuff, then I'm going to go jump in the portal and go somewhere else. So talk about kind of balancing that fine line.
I think, and you guys know, like, I've always been one that tries to explain the rationale for everything beforehand. I think
Mhm.
if you start with the why and really define it and execute it correctly, it's really no different.
Mhm.
I know a lot of coaches around the country are complaining about a lot of that stuff, but at the end of the day, if you recruit a really good player that wants to be there and understands the why, you don't really have to treat them with, you don't have to coddle them. You just
Yep.
have to
Right.
coach them hard. All the best players I've ever been around still wanted to be coached hard.
Mhm.
And that doesn't mean you berate them or you MF them all the time, but there's a certain time and place. If your tone is correct and you can execute that the right way, that still happens,
Mhm.
and if you can create a culture within your program where the players are also doing that at the same time, then
Yep.
then it's not necessarily you as a coach that's the one that's, creating that. I think in particular here at ASU, Coach Dillingham's done a phenomenal job of that, where the standard is the standard. And if you don't meet the standard, then oftentimes here, I don't even need to say anything. It's our leadership group. It's the guys on the team that they're the ones getting on the guy before I even have to open my mouth, which is
That's
to me
awesome.
like it's a breath of fresh air.
Well, that's, I mean, speaks into what the success that you guys are having, like player-led leadership. And that was a big thing that, I would say we definitely did not have before you and Fitz got there. Like it was
100%.
very much, strength coach, head coach, position coach were the ones handling everything. And there kind of wasn't the governance. Like you guys empowered us as players. I think it was a lot of it was done in the weight room. Was like you guys deemed captains. The captains drafted teams. The teams, the team captain was the one that kind of was accountable for everybody doing it. If somebody on your team missed something, the whole team was getting punished.
Yep.
And you're in there at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. and like if there weren't some knockdown dragouts in the locker room after some of those punishments, like people were either going to figure it out quick or they were going to get run out by the players.
Right.
Which was a big credit to you guys and the culture you guys kind of brought here. Talk about your, you were with Fitz at Harvard, but then coming down here, talk about kind of your development before taking over the program when Fitz left, but talk about kind of all of his philosophies and some of the stuff that you still stay to today. Just talk about some of those early years.
I mean, the biggest thing, and you guys know Fitz is one of my best friends. We talk all the time, and we get the families together, and he's like a brother, and he is and continues to be one of the best motivators of young men that I've ever seen. And
I'd agree.
He had an innate way to get somebody that doesn't want to do something to do it, with a lot of different ways and a lot of different tactics. And I tried to absorb every one of those tactics, whether it was at Harvard or at South Carolina, or just talking to him and picking his brain about certain things that happened to him in the NFL or at Penn State or at, his brief stint at Florida or Tennessee or now at Boston College. Like he is an elite motivator, always will be. I watched the way he handles his three boys. And as a father, I try to learn about that. He's a tremendous leader and an influence, and he's part of the reason why I'm so adamant about living it every day.
Yep.
Because he does.
Showing it.
He's an example. Yeah. He's an example of it.
I'm sure you've read the Coach Mack article.
Yeah, I was there. Yeah.
Stephen, have you seen this article?
What was that?
Oh, goodness gracious. I'll have to send it to you. There's an article that a former player at Harvard.
That may or may not have actually happened.
But he wrote an article about Coach Mack, and Coach Mack in reference was Coach Fitz. And I mean, I can vividly vision some of the stuff happening. One of the quotes was, would you rather be a fart stuck in an astronaut's outfit, or would you rather have so much testosterone that you can impregnate a woman just by staring at her? The article is absolutely hilarious.
I gotta see that. That's unbelievable. But
it was written by a former Harvard football player. It's still floating around the internet, and every time he gets a new job, it kind of resurfaces.
I mean, and one of them is I talk about this with my kid, Joe Granite. Do you know what was it was a quote about? Do you know why a gorilla eats so many bananas? Or
have you ever seen a small gorilla?
Yeah, have you ever seen a small gorilla? Eat your freaking bananas, and you're going to be a freaking monster.
I could see both of those, all of those quotes being said.
Oh yeah.
Oh man,
that's unbelievable. He was he the strength coach when my brothers were at Harvard?
Yes.
He was.
Oh gosh, I bet they had some stuff. Were your brothers as bad as you, or worse?
They were a hell of a lot sneakier.
Okay. I definitely. So I was there, 2000, late 2005, 2006.
So you would have been there with my second older brother, Glenn or Gary.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then he took that he took the semester abroad over in Australia, and then came back, and him and Murphy did not see eye to eye at all.
No, that was a really cool place to work because
Harvard was sick.
I even now, like when we moved into that new facility there, it was an amazing weight room. And the crazy thing about the Ivy League is you only play 10 games. So the majority of your year is strength and conditioning. Like you train, I don't know, 2 more months longer than like a group of 5 or power 4 program now. So those guys were so strong and so developed physically. And now they're all, CEOs and executives,
smart as shit, yeah.
Andrew Barry, one of our, he was our captain and cornerback. I think he's the GM of the Browns.
Wow.
Like there's a ton of those guys that are still around. And I know Fitz keeps in touch with a lot of those guys. I try to keep in touch with a lot of them. It was a really cool place where,
It's a cool community.
somebody's kind of a clown in the weight room, and then you find out he had a perfect SAT score, and all right.
Yep. I'm not going to argue with him. He's going to debate me to death.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Well,
Go ahead, Pat.
talking about Fitz leaving, and then you kind of taking over the program in South Carolina.
Yeah, that was a wild experience. So the same week, so I was kind of on a pretty good trajectory professionally. I always wanted to run my own show. Fitz knew that. Fitz helped me along the way. And that same week that he left for Penn State, I actually interviewed with the late great Mike Leach.
Wow.
Coach Spurrier helped facilitate a lot of that. And so I interviewed with Coach Leach in Austin, Texas. And then I flew to Pullman and toured the facilities there and then flew home. And my plan was to accept that job. And literally the next day, or maybe 48 hours later, Fitz is like, "Hey, I'm leaving. I'm going to Penn State. And, Coach Spurrier wants to talk to you." And I was like, "Holy shit. Okay." This has been an interesting week, so I'm like, well, Pullman, Washington, Columbia, South Carolina, the thing I know versus the thing I don't know. I'm staying, I don't have to pack and move and all that. Plus it's, the SEC and
Right.
It was, first of all, I'm grateful for Coach Spurrier for even considering that as somebody that didn't have any experience in the head seat.
Yeah.
And, in retrospect, looking back after all these years, I don't think anybody's truly ready for that, like in the moment, right? Like, and neither was I, but I didn't let anybody know that. I worked my tail off and coached as hard as I possibly could and did everything to the best of my ability, during that time. And ultimately, I think certainly a lot of the foundation had been laid, in the first 3 years. And then we had a ton of success there for a few years after that till, 15.
Yep. Yeah. Talk a little bit about kind of working under coach and like, he's an X's and O's guys. He's not a micromanager, weight room. Like he'll be in there with his little bandana walking on the treadmill and then doing his little bounces on the ball or whatever he does. But
he micromanaged the music sometimes.
Yeah, he did. Well,
I'll never forget hearing that shit.
Yeah.
There's certain non-negotiables, right? I'll give you a quick story. So my very first day in 2009, I think I got there on a Saturday and we had the weekend off. So I came in the office to the weight room on Sunday and get my office all set up. And I look, remember the old curved weight room, right? I'm looking down the end of the weight room down by the mirrors and I see somebody down there. So I'm kind of looking and it's Coach Spurrier with a bandana on, no shirt on, and just grinding out curls in the back of the weight room.
12 and a half, smooth and quick.
Oh my God. He comes walking and he sees me and he goes, "All right, my man, good to see you." And he just keeps on walking. He called me my man for the first probably 2 years because he didn't know my name.
Yeah, that was his safeguard.
That was.
But and then he was just it'd be, the end of the spring semester. And, summertime training starting, and this is a different era, right? It was a different time. Recruiting
For
calendars
sure.
were different, and he'd be like, "All right, Big Joe, we'll see you in August." I'm like, "All right, we got him."
Yeah.
Just make sure they're ready. I'm like, "All right, that sounds good." He's like,
Oh, that's hilarious.
We're down St. Augustine. Let me know. I'm like, "All right."
He's like, "No, time for me to take my break. You guys go to work and hammer them
Yeah,
out."
you got to go to work. And honestly, like, I think that really was a compliment to the confidence he had, ultimately, and what we were going to do, and how we would manage all the problems and all the issues, and then all the development,
Yeah.
and summertime was always such a great time for culture development, for team development. It was
God, it was
grind,
brutal. Brutal.
it was what we do, and
Yeah.
it was so much fun.
That
Yeah.
that heat in Columbus, South Carolina is like nothing else.
Yeah,
I
I'll
mean,
take the heat out here all day.
yeah, just not humid out there. It's just like scorching
Just
hot,
dry.
but not killing you.
I mean, listen, it still melt your tires off your car hot, but it is dry.
Yeah.
120 is still hot.
It's still hot.
118 is still hot.
Yeah.
This last summer, I think we had 68 days above 115.
Holy shit. That's brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can
What
fry an egg on your car on your dashboard.
do you see much similarities between Coach Dillingham and Coach Spurrier?
I think the knowledge in regards to the scheme is as good as I've been around.
I'm a fan of it, man. I think Coach Dillingham is freaking sick. I think he's awesome.
He's tremendous. He's fired up. The guy does not stop working. If he's not recruiting, he's fundraising. If he's not fundraising, he's dealing with administration. If he's not doing that, he's with the players, and he's constantly involved. He's an idea guy. I love some of the different ways he reaches, this age demographic and these players. He's got a really good pulse on the team. He's a hard-nosed, old-school, disciplined guy, but he's also a player's coach, and to balance kind of those two things, I think is an elite talent.
Yeah, I mean that it is a special talent to be able to do that, because you can run them off quick, but it's really hard to earn the trust and the love in today's age of college football, even professionally. Like it has to be real and genuine. These players, I would say football players are not necessarily the most book smart people in the world, but emotional intelligence of most football players is extremely high, and they kind of see both real quick.
Yeah.
All right, tailgaters, you have to check out our new sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. They are the place to go if you're looking for some action on some sporting events. You get your athletes, high or lower. They're available in 30-plus states, South Carolina, Georgia, Missouri. But go ahead and call your shot. I mean, Steven's been on a heater, not so much. Use the promo code Tailgate547 and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. Make sure you download the app, Underdogs, and go get some action.
Listen up, Gamecock Nation. Meet your new favorite streamer, Deputy Smitty. A former police officer and diehard South Carolina Gamecock fan, Deputy Smitty brings action-packed content to life every night on Twitch starting at 9:30 p.m. Connect with him on social media by searching Deputy Smitty and join his growing community on Discord at discord.gg/Deputy Smitty. So grab a drink and catch the thrills, laughs, and plenty of Gamecock pride in every stream.
What's up, Gamecock fans? When you're getting ready to cheer on the Garnet and Black, get fired up with White Hot Cinnamon Whiskey out of Hollow Creek Distillery. With only 3 all-natural ingredients and 1/3 less sugar than other similar brands, it's sure to be a touchdown at your next tailgate. Ask for White Hot Cinnamon Whiskey at your favorite spirits provider, and be sure to visit their award-winning Hollow Creek Distillery over in Leesville, South Carolina. Go Gamecocks!
Coach, you got to give us some of your some good stories from your time in Columbia. Something you can let it ride, as I said earlier, man. You can feel free to let it ride. That's what these people want to hear.
You guys remember the sledgehammer?
Oh gosh, yes. CC Whitlock.
I thought about that one last night with Cece and Cliff
Yes,
Gathers.
shut up, shut up, please. Thank God he's still with us, both of them.
Melvin saved the day, and we saved the day there. So let me set the scene, right? We're in the weight room, and somebody's skipping reps. And, I hope this doesn't piss off Gathers because he's a big son of a bitch now.
Now he's always been a big son of a bitch.
He's the only guy I ever knew that was like north of 300 pounds with an 8-pack.
He was terrifying. He was terrifying.
I mean, his whole family played in the NFL. Like they just came out ready to play in the NFL. So, CC, I feel like CC made so much growth in his time at Carolina, right? And
100%.
Early on, it was, we were trying to get to him and get the trust and all that stuff. And he's skipping reps. So Fitz looks at me and the rest of the staff, and he's like, "Go in the office." I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about?" He's like, "Get in the office." I'm like, "All right." So we get in the office. Everybody starts doing up downs. I don't know how many we did. It must have been 150 up downs, something like that. And essentially, he was going to do up downs till something happened. And I kind of, shit happened.
He's got a way to motivate people.
I'm standing behind a pillar, right? I'm looking around. I'm like, oh man, this is about to get ugly. So Cliff ended up slapping CC because it was
a ginormous hand to get slapped with too.
Yeah, and CC was yapping, and Cliff's like, "Man, if you don't shut up, like, listen, we're gonna keep doing up downs. I don't want to do up downs for you." And so we slapped CC, and we had all those sledgehammers sitting around, and CC grabbed that sledgehammer and he had it cocked back, and it was like Melvin, and I can't remember, maybe D Stu, somebody else grabbed him, and I run over there and we grab him, hold him down.
I mean, it was mid swing, like he was about to kill him.
Yeah, and I love CC, and he learned about that, about some experiences, but that honestly, like for me, that sort of like type of mentality was also like a real positive for us as a team, in that we were willing to kind of do whatever it took to have success, and we were willing to do whatever it took from a training perspective too.
I mean, the mind games that y'all, I mean, I remember the punishment for missing a workout or being late, or the punishment for being late to class, missing class checker, was 150 floors on the Stairmaster. Now that's like, I hop on the Stairmaster now because I'm getting fat and I want Kirsten to still think I look good. And I'll do like 50 floors, and it's like a 20-minute workout to do 50 floors going at a 8-9 pace. Like 150 floors is like a full hour of getting after it. Your back kills, you're drenching sweat.
You can't get off either. If you get off, you got to restart.
You can't get off. You can't stop. I remember, like, we used to do the stadiums. Remember, it was Saturday mornings or whatever it was. You do 6 a.m. stadiums. I remember I had Sky Moore run the stadium with a cinder block in each hand.
Oh, God.
A full cinder block in each hand. And you put weight vests on, and we'd roll guys, we'd bear crawl, we'd up down on every line all the way across the field, and you can't do a lot of that stuff anymore.
I mean, I'm getting itchy just talking about this. I'm getting a little weaselly.
I mean, I was always like fear letting people down. That's one of the big things for me. I remember I had like a 2 p.m. lift in summer or something, and our teams already said I was a captain. Like, my team was in the lead. I'm going to try to model myself and be a leader in that sense. And I remember I set my alarm for 2 a.m. or for like 1:30 a.m. instead of 1:30 p.m. And I remember I rolled in there at like 3 o'clock, and I was like, shit, this is going to be bad. And I mean, the cool thing is Fitz treated me, a 2-year captain, starter, leader, just like he treated a freshman who didn't know his way. Like, lit into me, held me accountable. Like, there was absolutely no difference. And he's like, hey, you got 300. When you finish 300, I'll put you through this workout. But like, you ain't touching our weight room until you do your 300. And I was like, oh God. I was like, in today's squat day, like, screw me. I'll see it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to do it, but like, I'm not going to be worth a damn for the next 48 hours because of this.
Yeah, you better buckle up. You're going to be there for 4 hours. Like the 8 hours, the 8-hour time limit. Come on now.
Oh, yeah, it would be impossible. They're at that stage.
Nah, I tell you what, how big of a savage is Scatabo? Is he just absolutely insane?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's funny. Everybody kind of out west got a chance to see him, right? Like this year early, and they saw how good he was all year long. And it was sort of amazing to me is when, the season started to wrap and he started to get a little bit more attention nationally, how everybody on the East Coast was like, oh, we love this kid. Like he's awesome. So he's his first year. So he came from Sac State, and his first year he was pretty big. He was like 230, 235, somewhere in there. And I mean, he was our starting quarterback one game 2 years ago. He punted.
Holy
we
shit.
asked him to do a ton of things. And this year, he dropped a bunch of weight. We leaned him out. He got faster. He maintained his strength. And he got a chance to focus on just being a back. And, he's a 600-pound back squatter, 400-pound cleaner. He's a phenomenal human being. He works his tail off. He's literally willing to have that whatever game that Saturday, that could be his last day. He doesn't care. And he's got that mindset, and he's just got incredible balance at the point of contact and after. All those run. I think he hit 20 miles an hour 10 or 11 times this year in a game because he's just breaking runs. And I'm really proud of him, how he's developed over the last 2 years. He's actually training down in Tampa right now.
Nice. For combine stuff?
Is it X2, X3? There's a facility down there. But he's down there, and, a lot of guys stick around and train here. And he's one of the guys that it's almost like a Clowney scenario, like after the hit, right? Like so much attention, so fast that I told him, I'm like, listen, you got to get out of here and go train somewhere far away where you can dictate when somebody's asking you to do stuff, because you need to focus on the training, because you need to have a good combine. You need to have a good pro day. And then that box is checked. You got the film, then we'll see what happens, and, but yeah, he's a monster.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you gotta text me his address and I'll try to link up with him, or not his address, but his number.
I would imagine. I mean, he's obviously what he did last year at Arizona State was incredible. I mean, watching that playoff game, I mean,
unreal.
It was like a mini flu game. Like he wasn't feeling well and all that stuff, but he still went out there just like warrior mindset. Now, I mean, let's be real. There's one white NFL starting running back, and he's like an elite talent. There aren't many. But there are a decent amount of backups that can carve roles, and I mean, obviously develop and become that guy. And I think he could definitely be it. But I mean, his ticket, and just going based off of what you just said about him, how he's wired, like he's going to come in and be probably the best special teams player on the roster day one when he gets in there, and he's going to prove to all the coaches, offensively, head coach, everybody, that like, okay, this guy's a grinder. We can carve him a role in offense, and whether he's a short yardage back or the third down back, but he is going to it's impossible to keep a guy like that off the field.
Right.
So I'm excited to watch his pro career and him kind of prove the doubters wrong.
Yeah, he played even this year. He would run down on kickoff. First kickoff of the game,
for a Heisman Trophy guy.
No kidding.
He would run down on kickoff and just rock somebody.
Just try to kill someone. I love it.
First play of the game, like, all right, let's set the tone here. And
we're doing this.
Yeah, we're gonna do this. And you usually it was like 1 or 2, and then we would take him off because he's, carrying the rock 35 times or whatever it was. But it was a pretty cool thing to watch him do that, and he'd get jacked up, and everybody get jacked up, and he was really, his mindset really was infectious for our whole football team this year.
Yeah, I mean, you watch that guy do it, and how does that not motivate the nickelback who plays 30 snaps a game? Like, how does that not motivate that guy to go out there and sell out every single play he gets?
Right.
Well,
Exactly.
I mean, I think it kind of stems from what you said when we first started, man. Like when these guys are seeing that their coaches are lifting weights and busting their ass in the gym, they're gonna be like, all right, if this guy can do it, I can do it. And if I can do it, as Pat just said, the freshman kid can do it. So I think you hit the nail on the head, and that's why people like me and Pat, I think we love and respect you so much because you actually put your money where your mouth is, and you actually did this shit. And weren't a dick about it, unless maybe I deserved to be treated like that.
Unless I had to be.
Yeah.
I say that now. I say you get what you deserve.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, if we're cordial and you're honest and everything's good and you're putting the effort in, you get what you deserve. And if you're an asshole and you got some attitude problems, you get what you deserve.
No doubt. That's a great way to put it. I'm gonna start using that with my kids.
Yeah.
Coach Joe told me you get what you deserve.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, put your cell phone. Joe will leave you a voicemail.
Yeah, I'm gonna carry cinder blocks up every flight of stairs in our house.
Yeah.
If you don't listen.
Oh man.
All right. Well, let's talk. Kind of going back to your time here at Carolina. Like, I mean, obviously everybody knows the Javon Clowneys, the Melvin Ingrams, all these studs, and I want you to talk about kind of their mindsets and how they trained. So give us like some of the big name guys that everybody knows, but like why they turned into who they are. Like dive a little bit into that from a training regimen and how they handled themselves as people.
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny. Like so do you guys remember Corey Addison?
Yeah.
So I actually had Corey Addison on my staff here.
Yeah.
At ASU. He was kind of bouncing around in the strength and conditioning world, and I hired him, and he was with us for a year, and then he moved on to a private sector job. But he shot me a picture of, it was how like pregame they do the starting defense, right?
Yep.
In our starting defense, I can't remember whether it was like 11 or 12. Every single player on our starting defense played in the NFL.
Yep. It was crazy.
I mean,
that's insane.
Dude, the amount of players that we had that were so talented was unprecedented. And I think that because of that, we had such a competitive environment that you could find a way to get somebody that, man, I don't really want to do this to do it, because you just create that competition in the weight room. Whether it was, I remember we were doing cleans one time, and JD was cleaning, and he flipped up 315 like it wasn't even there, and then Chaz was over on another rack, Chaz Sutton, and Chaz cleaned like 370, and JD, kind of walked like, in a perfect world, right? There's a progression to 370 pounds, right? Like you don't go from 315 to 370.
Some people can do that, like not I said me.
Yeah, so he walks up to it and he flips up 370, Clowney, because he saw Chaz do it. And so like creating that environment was really cool. I remember like Melvin's progression, like you guys Melvin was there early, like he came in as a running back, and he broke his foot, and he had all these, issues kind of early on in his career, and then you see the off season where he was like, all right, like this is it. I'm gonna work, and he worked, and then he had an unbelievable season, and
I mean, he was a 400 600 guy, right?
Oh yeah. I mean
there weren't many guys that, I think, and you can speak on this, Joe, I mean, you live it every day, but like I think the power clean is one of the most key lifts for football players. I know it was a token of my success. I mean, getting out of your hips, moving weight fast, stabilizing, getting up. I mean, you're front squatting, you're also moving it. You're also having your body's having a like function to move with the weight too, because it's not the same pull every time. but we had several guys that cleaned over 400 pounds, and that is not a normal type thing. That's a lot of y'all's development. I know TJ Johnson was one of them. I know Melvin was one of them. Do you remember any others?
Chaz was up there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. The impressive thing was like you get a guy that's 6'6", 6'7" doing that.
Right.
That's a
long way
to go.
Understanding triple extension like that is wild.
I feel like
Brian Maddox was another one.
Yeah,
was
Jaredo.
Jaredo. Yeah, Jaredo. I know Shaq was up there. I remember.
I think I got 360 or 355 or something my senior year.
Holloman was up there. Even like Stefan and Antonio Allen, and I remember watching Devin Taylor clean, like at 6'8", like it was like he's like a praying mantis, and he's flipping up 350. And to your point, Pat, it's a very important lift. It's still something we do, all the time, and that's kind of the new world of strength and conditioning is interesting because a lot of people don't utilize Olympic lifts anymore, and I think that if you are in a setting where you have time to teach them and coach them and be technically proficient in them, that a jump and a med ball throw is not going to get you the same stimulus as that triple extension in a clean, a jerk, or snatch, or whatever that Olympic lift is. So that power is important.
Yeah, I remember you guys were like, man, Pat, you're like, you move so much weight from back squat. You're a really strong guy. Usually it translates to being able to jump high and run fast. Like, what the hell happened to you? Like, how did God make this?
Yeah, the old days of the combine type testing and the test days and all that stuff. And I remember your vertical. I remember
I hit 30 once.
Yeah, I remember we had a long discussion about transfer of power, and I was like, listen, as long as he can run through somebody, we're all right.
Right.
Like, he doesn't need to jump in the air crazy. Like,
Even just don't overthrow him. Don't let him hurt himself.
He's got a radius. Hit him in the radius.
That's great.
Pat, because you did your combine training with them, right?
I did, and I mean, Joe was like, you did all the programming. You had me, T Camp. I want to say Josh Dickerson. There was like 5 or 6 of us, and that's badass that you still do that in today's age where everybody outsources it and everybody wants to go to Tampa, everywhere else. It's awesome that you still kind of invest back in guys that you don't have to. Those are guys that are gone now.
I feel like I owe it to them. Like they grinded for 3, 4, 5 years with me, and at the end of the day, too, I'm saving them $30,000.
Heck yeah.
You go to Exos or you go to some of these different places, you're paying $30,000 for 8 weeks. And especially being here in the Valley and having a great facility with all the resources we do, and being with somebody that actually knows you and knows, your deficiencies and what you need to work on, it allows us to kind of slow things down and really make sure that everybody's getting what they need. And the other thing is too, you go to one of those places, you got some, trainer that's fresh out of college that doesn't know what the NFL is looking for and barely does the actual drills. Like pro day combine training is very different from what football training looks like nowadays.
Yep.
You have to rep those drills over.
It's very tactical. I mean, there's like little tricks of the trade and cheats. And you guys shaved. I mean, my right shoulder's always been messed up, but Joe taught me a trick to like, don't let them pull your shoulder out of pocket so you get an extra inch on your vert. And your first crossover step on your 5-10-5 needs to be here. I mean, we like walk through it. Foot placement, hand placement, delivery. It was pivotal. I mean, I didn't blow up I don't think any of the scouts were like, oh man, I can't wait to draft this guy after his pro day training. But I mean, it definitely
all right for yourself.
That I was coachable. Yeah,
for sure. At the end of the day, if you look like you know what the hell you're doing, a pro day, oftentimes, and as long as you're in that range for your position, the numbers are relevant, right? It's the underwear Olympics. You get up there, you put your hand down, you touch at the right time, you don't spider, your foot's right, your hand's right, you run through, it's clean.
Well, just looking smooth, I think, is like the biggest thing. And I try to remind that to all the guys at Carolina when I was there for a year and a half that were doing their pro day training. I'm like, man, if you make it look hard, like you're going to look like shit.
Yeah.
But if you make it look effortless, I mean, these guys are looking for the best of the best athletes. They have them all over their current locker room right now. They're looking for the next one. Like, so you might not be a blazer, but don't slip and fall on your face in 5-10-5. Don't make them have to repeat the instructions on the drill.
Right.
Yes, sir. No, sir. Sprint up there. Like, be the model citizen, man. It carries a lot of weight.
Do you remember Cliff Matthews' pro day?
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. Cliff Matthews forced his way, regardless of whether he was going to play in the NFL or not. Like, I'll never forget. I still tell the story. He did every rep of every position drill the entire pro day. He did D-line,
tight end, linebacker,
tight end, O-line, linebacker. He went out and caught wide receiver routes. Like he was like, no, I'm good. Let's go. And I'll never forget that. And they saw the versatility in Cliff, and away he went. You know, that was cool.
I remember also, so Deej Galt was one of the strength coaches on staff with you guys. Love Deej, but his twin brother Tommy does not lack confidence in anything. But Tommy threw. We didn't have a quarterback, and Steven, you couldn't throw because you weren't eligible. So Tommy threw for us at pro day, and I remember I worked out running backs and tight ends, and I was running routes, me and Cliff. And I remember I ran a corner route, and like we were in the bubble, and you remember the turf was like, or the track was like 10 yards off the turf. This joker threw me like 15 yards out of bounds, and like talking with Joe and Fitz, it's like, hey, bad ball, make the catch. Like, I don't care, you can't. And I remember like I freaking like almost fell on the track trying to track this ball. I caught it and like fell into the wall, and I'm like, Tommy, like, God, what the hell? When he's like, dude. He's like, Pat, I'm showcasing your talent. I threw that ball like that so they could see
that is unbelievable.
I'm like, you're full of shit, Tommy. You're a tight end at Maryland who's now, because you don't lack any confidence, thinks you can be a professional quarterback.
Tommy actually married a girl from my hometown, and he lives in Massachusetts now.
Yep. He went
what's he doing?
He went to a couple Pats games when we played against someone else in Buffalo.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
What's he doing?
You know, I'm not sure what he's doing for work. He was coaching for a while, and
he got out of it like 3 years ago.
His wife was working for the Patriots, but I'm not sure what's happening now. I haven't talked to him in a while. I talked to Deej a little bit more often.
Those guys are funny as shit, man.
Hope you guys enjoyed the first part with Coach Joe Connolly. Plenty more good content coming next week, so make sure you check it out.